Good afternoon, grades 3rd and 4th. I would first like to thank and give a shout out to those that got online yesterday. I received 6 beautiful projects. Thank you, Khalil, Sincere, Kamaya, Zanira, Ahmad, and Sasha. Today's lesson is a read along with Miss Kelly. We are reading Attack of the Zombie, Shark-Headed Zombie. Leave a comment and question below. Chapter 1, Stunt Kids. Ugh! Keats gasped. With one last shove, he pushed his bike up the top of Steep Cliff Hill. This is the highest spot around. He couldn't believe he made it. As usual, his cousin Henry had climbed a lot faster. He was waiting for Keats on a rock at the top. Ready for the ride of your life, Henry asked with a grin. He jumped to his feet. Just a second, Keats said, and he carefully brushed the speck of dirt off of Webster. That was what he called his bike. Keats liked Webster to shine, especially on sunny summer afternoons like today. Give your bike a bath later, Henry said, laughing. You've got to see this. He pulled Keats over to look down the other side of the hill. Whoa, Keats said, and his stomach flip-flopped. The rocky slope ran straight down, almost like a wall. At the bottom of a cliff dropped into a deep lake. You want to ride our bikes down that? Keats squinted up at Henry. The cousins were both 9, but Henry was 2 inches taller. You've got it, cuz. Henry slapped him on the back. My world's greatest plan is for us to be stunt kids in movies. Oh man, Keats groaned. Not another one of your world's greatest plans. Remember when you said we should be snake dentists? This time is different, Henry said. If we spend the summer training to be stunt kids, we'll be famous by fall. He pointed down Steep Cliff Hill. This will be our first mission. We just ride down and stop before the cliff. Keats shook his head. That's so nuts. You should sell peanut butter. Nuts, Henry asked. It's totally safe. Then he scratched his chin. Keats knew his cousin well. Scratching his chin was a sure sign that Henry was lying. Keats decided he would not ride down the scary side of Steep Cliff Hill. Sure, Henry would call him a chicken for going back the easy way, but that was better than taking a chance that Webster might get scratched. Besides, it was a perfect afternoon for shooting hoops. From up here, Keats could see the basketball court in the park, and there he spotted his other favorite place in their small town, the library. Maybe he dropped by to see if any new books had come in. Keats started to explain, Henry, I'm going down. Great, Henry interrupted. I knew you wouldn't let me ride alone. Let's go first. I'll go first. Before Keats could stop him, Henry hopped on his bike, zipped straight down Steep Cliff Hill as if he'd done it a million times. He skidded to a halt before the edge of the cliff. Come on, Keats, Henry shouted from down way below. It's easy. It did look easy, Keats told himself, and he didn't want to let Henry down. Maybe he should just give it a try. He could always stop halfway if he got freaked out. Keats touched his lucky baseball cap under his helmet and gave his bike a pat. Let's go, Webster. He started down the hill. Right away, Keats knew this was a huge mistake. The rocky ground made the wheels jitter and the handlebars shake, and Keats was going way too fast. He wanted to stop. He tried pulling on the brakes. Oh no! His jeans were snagged in the gears. He couldn't press the pedals back to brake. He was completely out of control, and he was heading for the cliff. Henry, Keats shouted, I can't stop! In a flash, Henry dropped his own bike and ran a few feet up the hill. When Keats zoomed by, Henry yanked on his arm. Keats fell off the bike. His jeans turned free. The boys tumbled onto the grass, but Webster kept going and smacked into Henry's bike. Both bikes flew over the cliff and spun through the air and end over end. Kapush! The bike splashed into the deep lake and sank. Keats looked from the edge of the cliff, his cousin who grinned. Why are you smiling, Keats demanded. Webster's going. So is your bike. I know, Henry said, trying to cover his grin with his hand. And I'm really sorry. But how cool was that? Just like real stunt kids. Keats gave Henry's arm a wet. How are we going to get anywhere this summer? And what about now? It's too far to walk home without bikes. Henry shrugged. No problem. Our moms are still at work. We'll just meet them at the store. They can buy us new bikes on the drive home. Keats wasn't so sure, but Henry was already heading towards town. Keats rushed to catch up, and it took 10 minutes for the cousins to walk to the Purple Rabbit Market where their moms were cashiers. Like Keats and Henry, their moms were best friends and did everything together. In fact, they looked like twins in their purple uniforms. Keith's mom spotted the boys when they came into the store. She waved them over to the empty cash checkout aisle. How'd you both get so dirty, she asked. Henry's mom finished with a customer and joined them. What's the terrible twosome done now? She asked, folding her arms. Let me do the talking, Keats, Henry whispered. Then scratching his chin, he started. Mom and Aunt Marisol, our tale of thrills and chills all started back in. Henry's mom held up her hand to stop him. You better tell us, Keats. We're more likely to get an answer without all the hoopla. So Keats told them about losing their bikes in the lake. At first their moms were angry, but then they laughed when the cousins asked for money for new bikes. They said the boys would have to find a way to earn the cash themselves. But how, Keats asked. I don't know, Keats' mom said sternly. Now go outside until our shift is over. Without Webster, you'll have to wait for me or Dad to drive you everywhere. Shifting his feet, Keats took his time. Following Henry out of the store, he missed Webster already. Summer was going to be pretty boring without bikes. When Keats got outside, Henry was standing next to the community message board. It was full of signs that people had pinned up about lost dogs and bake sales. Henry was smiling again. I've solved our problem, he shouted. He ripped an ad off the board and showed it to Keats. The ad said, help wanted with odd jobs. My house is a disaster. Looking for someone who can work real magic. Will pay big cash. There was an address outside of town and a phone number to leave a message. We'll have money for new bikes in no time, Henry said. There's a payphone right there. I'll call and say we'll take the job. It's my new world's greatest plan. Something about the help wanted ad struck Keats as weird. He couldn't put his finger on it. I've got a bad feeling about this, he said. But of course, it was too late to stop Henry. He was already dialing the phone. Chapter 2. Thwack. A branch snapped back and smacked Keats in the face. Black, he said, wiping a slimy leaf off his cheek. He couldn't believe he was following Henry on one of his shortcuts again. It was the morning after their bikes had gone into the lake. The cousins were squishing around the swampy woods looking for 1313 Houdini Way. That was the address on the ad. Admit it, Henry, Keats said as his sneakers splashed in the pond of muck. Your shortcuts is a long cut. We are so lost. We never should have left the road. I know exactly where we are, Henry said. He was scratching his chin, so Keats knew he wasn't telling the truth. Okay, where are we? Keats challenged. Just then, Keats' foot caught on something and he fell forward. His hand scraped on pavement. It was the road. Then he looked up. He saw a massive iron gate on the other side. The address on the gate said 1313 Houdini Way. We're here, Henry shouted. He pulled Keats back onto his feet. See? No problem. Keats had a smile. Sometimes Henry's plan did actually work out. Past the gate, a long gravel driveway curved around the dead trees. A gray house with dark windows squatted on top of the hill. It looked like a haunted house in a horror movie. Keats took a step back. Are you kidding? He said. Come on, Henry said. Do you want to make money for new bikes or not? Tugging Keats along, Henry led the way to the house. They climbed the rickety old steps of the front porch and pressed the doorbell. Instead of a ding-dong, there was a buzzing sound. It sounded like, run away, run away. The boys waited, but no one came. He spotted a note taped to the door. He plucked the note free and read it out loud. Dear Keats and Henry, welcome to Hallway House. Thank you for taking the job. Here are the tasks for today. Weed the garden. Bring the box of light bulbs down from the attic. Battle and defeat the shark-headed zombie. Sweep the garage. When you're done with everything, I'll return to pay you and take you home. Sincerely, Archibald Kickham. P.S. If you need an extra wine, I think there's an old one in the kitchen sink. Shark-headed zombie, Henry said. Extra wine, Keats said. Henry laughed, and then Keats did too. Well, Henry said, at least Mr. Kickham knows how to joke around. Come on, let's start at the top of the list. Weed the garden. I didn't see a garden, Keats said, and pulled Mr. Kickham's note, putting Mr. Kickham's note in his pocket. Did you? They all looked around. They looked around. After a couple of minutes, they found a garden. It was a big patch of weeds next to the house. Let's get to work, Henry said. Under the blazing summer sun, the boys started yanking out weeds. They are really prickly. They are the really prickly kind with deep roots. They took 2 hands or even 4 to tug out of the dirt. With each weed they pulled out, Keats felt the ground shake a little. The first few times he stopped to look around, but after a while he decided the shaking must be his imagination. Finally, the cousins uprooted the last weed. Henry wiped the sweat off of his face. That's done, he said. What's the next job? Keats took out the to-do list. Then he froze. A black line was running through the word weed the garden. It was as if an invisible pen was crossing it off the list. Keats, wow, whoa, Keats said. Henry, look at this. But Henry was staring past Keats' shoulder. Keats turned to look, too. About 50 feet away, he spotted a dark triangle sticking up from the ground. It was as high as his knees and moving through the grass. What is that? Keats asked. If I didn't know better, Henry said, I'd say it was a fin. It did look like a fin gliding through the ground. For a second, the fin was all Keats could see. Then a huge mouth popped out of the grass. Long sharp teeth crunched down on the twigs and rocks. Some sort of strange creature was swimming through the ground. It was gobbling up everything in its path, and it was heading straight for the boys. Henry grabbed Keats' arm and shouted, run. That's it for today, kids. And the lesson that I have planned for you today is for you to write 1 to 2 paragraphs about one of 3 topics. 1, a character from the book. 2, a summary of what we read so far. Or 3, a scene from the book. And afterwards, I want you to go on the ReadWorks website for 15 minutes and do an assigned reading. And then I want you to do 30 minutes of math on Splash Math or Prodigy. And also, I want you to send me any questions or about any homework that you may have a problem with. And finally, I want you to send me an email about a game that you're playing online, or what you would like to try online for Fun Friday. And also, as yesterday, I want you to send your projects to me in the email or a text. Thank you, and that's the lesson for today. Bye.